What's going on, everyone? I'm going to be going through Unity's Netcode for Game Objects Quickstart guide so you can quickly get started and mess around with some netcode so you can work on your multiplayer game. So I will link the documentation down below if you want to follow along, but I'm just going to be reading it on the side here and going through with it. So let's first create a new project. I recommend using anything 2022.3 and above, because it's a little bit different if you use something beforehand. And they also recommend doing 2022.3 and above. Okay, so let's name it Network Game Objects Test, and let's create the project. Okay, now the scene is open, so let's go to Window first and go to the Package Manager. Let's make sure we're in the Unity registry. And as long as you're in 2022.3 and above, you'll have this option for Add Package by Name. If you are in an earlier version, you have to do it by the get URL, and that'll be in the description as well. So for this, it is going to be com.unity.netcode.gameobjects. We're just going to add it. And it should take like 20 seconds. Okay, perfect. Now it's added. So first things first, let's set up our scene down here, create some folders. We'll do one for the scripts and one for the prefabs. All right, so let's create our empty game object. That will be the network manager. And you're going to add a component to it, and it's going to be the network manager component. That comes from Netcode. We're going to scroll down a little bit and see the network transport. We're going to select Unity transport, and that'll give it this. That's all good. And now let's make our player. So we'll make a 3D object, a capsule. We'll just call it player, and we're going to have to give it a network object. Okay. That should be good, and now we can drag this to the prefabs folder and delete it from our scene. And if you go back to the network manager, you'll see a little thing here for player prefab. Just gonna drag it there, and that should be all good. And we're also gonna go to our build settings, and we're gonna add the open scenes. So just like that should be good. And now if we already hit play, we should be able to go into our network manager, scroll down a little bit, and we can hit like a start host. And perfect, it spawns the player. Okay. So next we're going to be making a script. Well, before we do that, actually, we could just make a 3D terrain real quick. And just call it terrain. And reset just in case. And cool. So let's make our first script. I believe it's called, what do they call it? Hello World Manager. All right, let's go in and edit it. Okay, so let's delete this, and oops, that too. And we're gonna copy this. And we're going to delete it real quick. And then we're going to do a namespace first. Namespace hello world. And then we're going to copy that back. And make a private network manager. Oh. Network manager. m_network manager. And we're going to have to import Netcode. There we go. And now we're going to make a void awake. And we're just gonna get that network manager. That works. And now we're gonna create some GUI stuff. We're gonna make 3 buttons. So GUI layout, top again area. And we're gonna make a new rect start at 1010 and make it 300. And you could technically just copy and paste the code from the docs, but I think it's easier if you take it line by line. So you can see more of what it's doing. Okay, so we're gonna start the buttons. This will be a function we make it in a little bit. Else, we are going to do the status labels and submit new position. Okay, and now we are going to end area. Perfect. And now our first function will be the start buttons function. And we're going to have 3 if statements in here, one for the host, one for the client, one for the server. So depending on which one you are, or I mean which one you click on, it will start that network for you. Okay, so get layout dot button host network manager, and then it will start the host. And it's basically the same thing 3 times, so we'll just copy and paste it twice. Instead we'll do client and start client, and we will do server and start server. And to make our lives a little easier, let's just make this a static. Okay, that function is done. Now we're going to do the status labels. Static void status labels. var mode network manager. Is it the host? And if it is, then let's make it the host. If not, we are going to check if it's the server. If it is, then it's the server. And if not, you are the client. Because if you're not the host, then you're not the server, then you have to be a client that's connecting to the host / server. Okay. GUI layout dot label transport plus network manager dot network config dot network transport dot get type and name. That should be good. And GUI label, GUI layout dot label mode okay, and this is the mode that it chooses here, so it's going to be a label up in the top left of our game screen, and it's just going to tell you if you're the host, server, or client. Okay, so that is the labels, and now we will do the submit new position. If GUI layout button network manager is server, then we will have the move option if you are the server. Otherwise, you will have to request a position change from the server. And network manager is server and not the client. Then for each long UID, then network manager dot connected clients IDs, we will network manager, we will spawn get player network ID, get a component, and hello world player, not manager, player. Yeah, that's a function. And then we have else var player object, network manager, spawn manager, get local player object. Perfect. And then var player equals player object dot get component of that hello world player, and then player.move. Okay, don't worry about this. We will create that function in a second here. That should be all good. All right, let's create a new script. Let's create the hello world player. All right. So same thing as before, we can delete this real quick, copy that, and just do the namespace. We're gonna have a public network variable. Okay, we're gonna need to use unity.netcode. It's gonna be a vector3, and it's gonna track the position of each player. Network variable vector3. Cool. So let's make a public override for the on network spawn. And if you are the owner, then we are going to move you. And let's make that move function. And we'll have it do a submit position request RPC. And this is also going to be a function. We're going to do an RPC send to server and void submit position and RPC params are default. And we're just going to have it spawn you in a random position. Get random position on plane. Transform.position equals that random position. And position.value is going to equal that random position. Cool. And now we have to make this function real quick. Static vector3, and we're going to get that random position. Whoops, let's get random position. And it's just going to return us a new vector3 with a random.range -3f, 3f. Random.range 3f, 3f. Cool. And that's a vector. And we're just going to have the update method and transform position equals position.value. Perfect. Okay. All right. So now we are going to see what we got here. I'm going to open up the player prefab, and we will just drag this hello world player onto there. And we cannot do that because there's a compile error. Ah, okay. So at the top here, we have to make this a network behavior instead of mono behavior. and that'll fix that. And now we should be able to go into our player prefab and add the Hello World player to it. And bam, you can see it down there, network variable. That should be good. And now if we go to our network manager and add our Hello World manager, see it down there, perfect. So that is all good. Alright, so let's save our scene real quick, and then, okay, let me actually make this a 3D object, a plane instead. That'll work better. Okay, perfect. And there's actually one more thing I wanted to do. I wanted to add something to the Hello World player. Okay, let me make a terrain real quick under assets. Let's do, or not a terrain, a material. Let's just call it red, and we'll do it like that. Bam, easy. And now we will do a public material red mat. And if you are the owner, we will also do this.gameObject.getComponent, and we'll get the mesh renderer. And nope, that's what I wanted. Material. And we'll make it the red mat. Perfect. Just so that way you can see on each instance that we have which one it is referring to. It makes it a little easier visually. We still have to assign this real quick though, so let's go into player, scroll down a little bit, and add that red mat. Cool. Okay, save the scene, and let's go to our build settings, and let's build. Okay. So I just already. So just go somewhere where you can put some builds of your game in like separate folders. I'm just gonna have this go into user 1 to override that. And it's gonna build for a little bit. Okay, so it built. But I forgot there's actually one more thing I wanted to do before we do that. I wanted to go into edit project settings, and I wanted to go to resolution. We're gonna make it windowed, and we're going to make it a resizable window. That's all fine. And we're gonna build it again, just so that's easier to show you. We're gonna build it in that same spot, user 1. Cool, even quicker. All right, so I have the user 1 pulled up right here. I'm going to open up that network game object test that I have, and it opens in windowed. I'm just gonna make it smaller like that, and then I'm also going to hit play on this one, and you can see those buttons that we made earlier in code. They popped up right there. So if I hit host on this one, you'll see that it tells you the transport, and it tells you the mode is the host, and I should be able to move. Puts it in a random position on this little plane here. And now in my little build, I can be a client, and bam, I am the red guy on this one because I'm the owner on this game. But on this game, the owner is right there behind the white guy. So bam, look at that, and it moved on here too. I can request a position change and move just like him, and that works pretty well. So that's it for Unity's documentation of this, but I wanted to go ahead and show you one more thing we can do. So let me close out of that, get out of play mode, and I'm going to go back into the Hello World player, and I'm going to change this up a little bit. We're going to add a public float move speed at 5F, and I'm going to change some things around. I'm going to go into move, and I'm going to do vector 3 move direction vector 3 dot 0, and if input get mouse or get key code dot w. If we do that, then move direction dot z plus equals 1, and I'm just going to copy this 3 more times. We will do s and make it -1. Then we will do a and make the x -1, and then x plus 1 for d. Cool. And then down here we'll do an if move direction is not equal to vector 3.0, and vector 3.0 is just 0, 0, 0. We're going to move server RPC move direction dot normalized times move speed, and then times time dot delta time, and we are going to let's just redo this. We will do server RPC, and we're going to do private void move server RPC vector 3 for the movement, server RPC params RCP params default, and position dot value is equal to the movement. Plus equal to the movement. Bam. Okay. No longer need this since we're going to be doing something a little different. And the update, we're going to do move and do transform dot position equals position dot value. Okay, that should be good. This is just going to add some very simple movement, so hopefully it works. Let me just see if the movement works before I build it. Oops. Okay, cool. So let me just build again in that same spot. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, cool. And I'm going to run that. Close out of this, run this, and become the host on here. And let me just move to the side a little bit. And then I'm going to join as a client on here, and bam, there I am. There I am on the host's end. And you can see it's calculating my movement, sending the request to the network manager, and it's moving me. And then if I minimize Unity a little bit, put that up here, and play in here, then you can see the same thing happens when I'm like that. It's pretty smooth, and it only looks a little laggy because I'm not maximized on that tab right now, but it is very smooth. And I hope this helps you with your multiplayer prototypes, and thanks for watching.